which means that stuff that's directly in front of him, he can't see. Can you see under your nose? Okay, can't see under your nose. Can't see stuff over here, so if I'm like, woo, I'm doing stuff, he doesn't know what's going on. Yeah. So you want to know that kind of thing. You want to know where your ears are. My head has, they're kind of flexible, but they're not the most soft ears, and before I got really used to her, I would run into stuff that was a little taller than me, particularly car doors. I hate cars. Faye, for her vision, she has pretty good peripheral vision, but there is a dead spot right between the eyes where I really cannot see anything. So if you stand right in front of me when I'm in suit, I can't see you. I also can't see below my nose, which was really fun working with kids that are this tall. I couldn't see them. So that's the biggest part. You want to learn your limits. You're going to learn the ventilation of the suit. You're going to learn about how hot it gets. Because with fursuits, it kind of gets to hot level, and then you stay there. So yeah, you can sit back that way if you want to. So yeah, learning those limits are really important. That's what you're going to talk to your handler about, and I'll talk about handlers in a minute. But it's going to give you a better idea of what you can and can't do in suit. And you should trust your instincts there. So if you're going to do something like, hey, I'm going to go run off for like a mile, and there's a part of you that's like, maybe that's not a good idea. Listen to that part of you, because I've learned that part of you is the bit that doesn't want you to. So it's pretty great. What you want to do next, after you've kind of figured out your suit a little bit, you kind of get the rough idea of what your size is, how well you're going to be able to see, how well you can feel things, how well you can move your hands. Can I see your paws? Hold your paws up. So he has 5-finger gloves, some have like 4, some are just like paws that have no dexterity whatsoever. Dexterity is important. If you don't have any, it's not that great. New fursuiter, come here, you have different hands. Hi. So, can I this? Excellent. Hold up your hands. Alright, hold up your hands. So the difference between these kinds of paws is pretty apparent. This hand is probably going to have a little less dexterity than this hand. And that's important to know. Thank you. Super helpful. Do you need help to a seat? Yeah, so knowing what you can do, what you can touch, that's really important. The next bit is preparation. Because you might think it's all about, like, get in suit and then go suit. It is not really like that. You want to make sure before you get into suit, especially if you're new and you're not used to like how hard it's going to be on you or anything like that, be hydrated. Drink water. If you don't like water, drink Gatorade. Do not drink soda beforehand. You will make yourself sick. It's a lot of sugar, and caffeine is a diuretic, which means that
it pulls water out of your body.
Yeah, so it makes your capillaries get smaller. It makes you dehydrate so much faster than you would. So coffee, you don't want to do. Soda, you don't want to do. Black teas should, they're lovely, but avoid them right before suiting. And definitely, if you're new, don't drink and then get into suit. Now, you may see people drinking and then getting into suit. They've done it before. And all of this advice is going to be something like, learn what to do safely first, and then you can kind of spread it out. Your loud music. Alright. So, when you're still new to it and things like that, just stick with water. Water is your best friend. You also want to make sure, this isn't particularly a safety thing, but wear deodorant. Make sure you put deodorant on. While that's not going to kill you or anything, it will make everyone else sad around you because you're going to sweat a lot. And in that regard, we're going to move on on to dehydration and heat exhaustion, which is the biggest part of fursuit safety. Dehydration and heat exhaustion are not the same thing. It is not good enough to say that I'm getting water, that's all I need, even though it can be really, really tempting. So I've seen plenty of fursuiters that try to stay in suit forever, and they'll say something like, I have a moving jaw, I can just put water into my mouth and drink it forever. Or I'll get a camel pack and just drink forever. And I'll stay in suit for 5 hours. And then you find them later and they're just curled up in a sad ball of 7. Because while dehydration is really important, you want to make sure that you're getting water and everything, heat exhaustion is also really going to get you. So being that hot that long is a really big toll on your body, especially if you're not used to it. So you can do bad things to yourself. Generally, to avoid it, what you want to do is about every 15 to 20 minutes, you want to take a break. Take your head off. Don't just be like, I'll sit down, whatever. Take the head off and get some air. You lose heat through your body in a lot of places, but the biggest places are going to be the thighs, the heads, the hands, and the bottom of your feet. So if you're hot, best thing to do is to take your head off and get fresh air to your face. You could also take your paws off and get fresh air to your hands, and that'll cool you down quite a bit. 15 to 20 minutes is a really good window, and you're going to notice. So even if you're used to suiting, after about 15 to 20 minutes in suit, you kind of get this like tiredness to you. That's your body going like, I would like a break, please make me not hot so much. Trust your body, it wants you to not die. It has a very vested interest in you not dying. So a lot of the suitors that you may see out and about, they seem like they're just out forever. Like they're doing it for hours and hours and hours. They're really not. So a lot of them, especially the really energetic ones, will take about 15 to 20 minutes and then they go to a headless lounge and take their head off. Or they rest for a bit, or do something. And then they go right back out there. You just don't particularly notice, especially at cons, because there's so many fursuiters. So if one kind of slips away and then comes back, you're like, yeah, they're back, cool. If you ever see me in my own suit, I walk around with a lot more energy in suit than out of suit because of the way that I see. Because I can't see in front of me, I have to swing my head so that I'm going to get a full view of everything, and you're going to get used to that when you have to deal with vision stuff. So if I'm walking around, I do a motion like that. So it tucks the nose down so I can see downward, and I can get a full scope of vision across where I want to be. It's also a lot easier to move with some sort of swagger, so I'll walk around like that, bouncing my knees and things like that. That gets so tiring so fast though. So I take a lot of breaks when I'm at con. You do not want to marathon suit. Marathon suiting is when you are in suit for long amounts of time. If you're new, particularly, you really don't want to do it. There are some veterans that do it. It's not easy, and it takes some time to build up that kind of stamina. So, this is the section that is do as I say, not as I do, and I'll explain why. In Faye, I do marathon suit because I was used to working with the small children, and so I'd have to be in suit for about an hour and a half at a time without taking my head off. If I take my head off, I can be in suit forever at the day. I think the longest I went was 26 hours. It was a fun con. But there's a reason why I say don't marathon suit, because when I was younger, I was a fool. I was a foolish fool. And I had this bright idea where I would go to a Halloween dance. One, I didn't have my handler. There's mistake 1. 2, it was dark. There's mistake 2, so I couldn't see very well. I ended up in suit for 4 hours without easy access to water, so there's 2 mistakes. I also had to work right after. So, I was in suit for about 4 hours straight. Got out, took a quick shower, I had a desk security job or whatever. Went to that, did a shift, came home, passed out in bed, and I woke up 2 days later. Yeah. I missed like all of Saturday and Sunday. I woke up like just in time to go to class. It was very unfortunate. So it's that kind of thing where it takes a huge toll on the body. When you have heat particularly, it's going to make you really, really tired, and you need to give your body time to cool down and recover. If you don't do that, you're going to have a really bad time, because it's either going to catch up with you really, really quickly or not. And neither is a good time. One of the things is if you start getting too tired, if you start getting heat exhaustion, you're going to start feeling really, really sick. So if you start feeling nauseous in suit, get out of suit immediately. Because when that starts to happen, your body's trying to give you some warning, but it's not thinking like, yeah, it's going to take you like an hour to get to your room and get out of it. No, that's like you have 5 seconds counting. That's DEFCON 5 kind of feeling. So it's not gonna seem extreme at first. You guys have probably been sick before. There's kind of that like, I don't feel very good. I'm gonna go sit down. My tummy feels rumbly. It's not like that. Well, it is like that. It's not the holy crap, I need to run to a bathroom. It's I feel a little bad, and then you kind of get a 3 count, and then you're gonna throw up in your suit, and it is very unpleasant. So if you feel sick, it doesn't matter where you are. Don't worry about the magic. There's the whole thing about don't break the magic. Don't break yourself. Don't break yourself, then don't break the magic. If you have any kind of condition, so there's some people that like to fursuit with heart conditions and things, if you don't feel good, get out of suit. Because if anybody calls you on it, then they're a jerk. And that's it. So if somebody's like, haha, you broke the magic, then be like, haha, I'm not dead. So, heat exhaustion, make sure that you're not in suit constantly. Take breaks often. It's going to make you a much better suiter. Because if you go 15 minutes or something and then take a break and then you put your head back on, then it's like, yay, I'm energetic again and life is great and I could go be a fursuiter. If you try to go an extended amount of time, then you sort of get this zombie look. And you can always see the fursuiters that have been in fursuit too long because they just kind of barely seem to be able to move. Because really their muscles like don't want to work anymore. So they're trying to do the least amount of effort in order to conserve their energy. That doesn't make for great fursuiting. So, breaks are your friend. Fluids. So again, dehydration doesn't fix heat exhaustion. You can't just hook up a tube to your mouth and get water and everything's great and you can go forever. But that being said, you should get fluids. So when you take a break, make sure that you're drinking water. And you're going to want it. Even if you don't like water that much, you will want this water. This will be manna from heaven. If you fursuited for any amount of time and somebody hands you water, you're like, this is the greatest thing on earth. Something to keep in mind, you're going to want to have like room temperature water or cooler water. You don't want ice water. That might sound insane, but surely I want to be cooled down even more. The problem is you're trying to hydrate yourself. So room temperature water will cool you down, but if it's ice water, your body has to take time to un-ice it, and then you get it into your system. So it's just going to be better for you in the long run to have room temperature water. There's also something where this is a rare occurrence in terms of drinking water, but if you are really, really hot and you drink something really, really cold, you can give yourself system shock. And it's essentially that your body just gets so confused that you get really, really sick immediately. So most of the time, if I've ever seen it, it's somebody just immediately throws up, which is really unpleasant in suit. It's just is. You don't want that to happen. It is possible it can give somebody seizures. Mostly with system shock, when you get out of suit or when you're doing that rest, don't bathe yourself in ice don't take an ice cold shower. Do something that's like, maybe like lukewarmish at first, because that's still going to be cooler than you are, but it's not a huge difference between your core body temperature and the temperature of the water. So, ice things, not super your friend. May seem your friend, not your friend. Just give it some distance, take some time, and then you guys can be friends later. It'll be okay. Gatorade. I always get asked the question, like, isn't Gatorade good for you in suit? It's alright. Mostly when you're... Huh?
It's got electrolytes.
Yeah.
Plants crave.
It is what plants crave. Something that you need to keep in mind is what you take in when you're suiting, that's what you're sweating out. There's always the question of, how do you go to the bathroom in suit? And the answer is, don't. And that's not a joke in that, like, you can't really, it's difficult, try not to do it. You won't, because your body is going to use all of that hydration. I've had to use the bathroom in Fursuit once, and it's because I had, like, a gallon of water before I got into suit. So, meh. So yeah, Gatorade you can do, but water is always the easiest thing to get access to. And so you shouldn't try to get it into your head where it's like, I need Gatorade, I need those electrolytes. You're not going to be suiting enough where it's like this huge problem for electrolytes for you. If you do get to that point, stop suiting. Take it off, go take a break, take a shower, enjoy yourself, be a human being for a little bit, and then you can go back to it. It can be nice to have some Gatorade after you're done suiting. So then you can get the electrolytes back and you're in recovery time, so it's okay. But like, if you're just in the headless lounge or you're trying to go out and about and like get something to drink, don't just be like, I have to have Gatorade or I'll die. You don't need it. Water does everything. Water is brilliant. Water is your friend. Under Armour. So, keeping cool in fursuit. As I had mentioned, fursuits are hot. Fursuits are super hot. If you stand near a fursuiter when they're fursuiting, especially a full suiter, you can feel the heat coming off of them. It's super duper hot, and it just stays that way. One way to help with the heat is to have something like Under Armour or Undergear. So mine, I lost my other one. I was super sad about it. I left it at this con last year. But this is my new stuff. It's Under Armour. So the idea behind it is when your body sweats, it does that to get rid of heat. So the sweat evaporates off your skin, which is great. When you're in a fursuit, that doesn't happen. You are just a sweat box in and of yourself, and then you're sad. And it feels so much hotter and unbearable if you do not have undergear. So, undergear. It wicks the sweat away from your body. You feel less icky and sticky. It also helps you keep your fursuit cleaner for longer. So you should be washing your suit. Seriously, wash your suit. Seriously, wash your suit. There's some people that think nobody ever washes their suit, and they are wrong and sad, but wrong. But it does keep it for something where, like, if I try to suit without this stuff on, after about 30 minutes, I'm just drenched in sweat, and it's gross, and nobody wants that, and then you smell. Versus this, it's super easier to clean, all the sweat is here, so on and so forth. Yeah. How do you wash Under Armour?
No, the suit.
That would be a care thing. You can ask the best thing to do is to ask your builder about it, because they're going to know what materials they use. For mine, I stick her body into the washer. Don't use a dryer. Don't do it. For the safety of your fursuit, don't ever use a dryer. It mats the fur, it melts it, it's unpleasant. So, Under Armour, that's the kind of gear that you want. Make sure that you're paying attention. You want heat gear, not cold gear. Because it looks a lot like long johns that you would wear in winter, especially if you live in the northern states. It's so easy to get cold gear that will wick sweat, but it also keeps you warm, and you don't want that. You also might want a balaclava. Yes?
since I couldn't get Under Armour at the time, I'm actually using just like old t-shirts as Under Armour. Would that be alright, or?
So,
I mean, even having another shirt.
in terms of, you don't want to be nude under your fursuit, because all of your sweat then sticks to your suit, and then the suit sticks to you, and it's gross, and you don't want that. Cotton, like, shirts and stuff can work. You want a really, really light fabric if you're going to do that. And it's okay, but in comparison to Under Armour, it's night and day. So, I greatly, greatly recommend, if you're interested in getting a suit, get some sort of something. Under Armour itself can be a little expensive because it's the brand name and everything, but there are plenty of alternatives that are not, like, as bad as Under Armour is. I think my last set I got for $50, which compared to getting a fursuit is nothing. You should just consider it to be an additional cost of getting a fursuit. The other thing is having a balaclava, because it keeps your face cooler. So you're not getting the hot air that you're breathing out of your own lungs sticking to your face and everything. And it's easy to clean, so all of the sweat around you goes into it and not into the suit head, which can be really annoying to like get in there and clean and everything. You should, but you don't have to like every single time you take your head off. This one, it could be a lot of different ones. This one is a merino woolen like silk blend or something. So it's the same kind of thing. Get a sports shop, go get heat gear, you'll find something. Hooray. Yeah. So yeah, there's talk of some people want to wear like water vests underneath that water cools them. You can do that. Other people want to wear ice vests. You can do that. Personally, I don't like to do that because I think it adds more weight than is necessary, especially when you're really, really new to it. So you don't need to be in suit long enough that you need an ice vest. That's for people that work at like Disney or work parades. You're going to be in suit for 5 hours. If you're really, like, you just really want that, you want that coldness, you want the ice and everything, what you're going to want to do is, at the very least, make sure it's something like a vest. Do not get an ice belt, because you get the same kind of problem with System Shock. It's one very specific part of your body that's going to be really, really cold while the rest of you is super hot. And then your brain is like, I don't know what to do, so abort everything. And it just shuts down. It does not, you don't want that. So, if anything, do not get an ice belt. Make sure it's a vest or something so it's covering your core. Otherwise, personally, I don't think it's necessary to be a safe suiter to have that stuff. Otherwise, if you want it, then there's some good places that you can get it. My recommendation for that is ask somebody that has one. Yeah. Handlers! Yay, handlers! This is one of the best ones. So, I do have a panel right after this that goes way more into it, but stand up again, please. Handlers are amazing! The best rule about fursuiting is have a handler with you. And if you are a fursuiter, you want to pick your handlers well, especially at cons. Because it's really easy to find a handler at con. It's so hard to find one. Well, it's not super hard, but it's not as easy to find one that is good. And there's a reason for this. First and foremost, you want to make sure that your handler is in it for the right reason. So a handler is somebody, you probably never realized this before or never noticed it, because it's just a regular person out of suit. And their job is to just make sure that the fursuiter is going to be okay. Because when you're fursuiting, you can't feel things as well, you can't hear things as well, you can't see stuff. The world is a danger. So when you're a handler, what you're doing is it's things like, if he wanted to walk around the table, I'd be like, well, watch for the edge there. And so I can lead him around obstacles and things. You might want to, there you go, yeah. So otherwise he's going to run into stuff. That black cord there, he probably can't see it. So he's probably going to step on it if he goes in that direction. There's things like just making sure that you have somebody to watch you, because sometimes you get really, really into it. And then you're going to get really, really tired, and you can start getting really sick and not realize it. So if you have somebody there where people start weaving a little bit, or they start getting really, really sluggish, having another person there that's just like, hey, why don't we go to the Headless Lounge? Are you hot? All right, let's go. And then you can help them there. You can help them through crowds, because, I mean, if you're my size, I'm this tall with my ears. Most fursuiters are gigantic Amazon people. Yes, like this person over here. Yeah, gigantic. I get lost in suits so much. If you notice I wear a bell, there's a reason for that. I'm not big. So handlers are there just to make sure that you can get through crowds, especially like when you can't see very well, things like that. They're going to be people that know where the water is, things like that. And so for your handler, picking a good handler is important. You want somebody that has a vested interest in you not dying. At con, like I said, it's really, really easy to find somebody that's like, yeah, I'll be your handler. Just make sure they understand what you need first. So they need to understand that you have limited vision and things. One of the best things to do is have them try on your head if they can, like, if it would fit, so they can get an idea of what exactly you can see and what you can't. Make sure that they understand that you're going to be stopped, because people want pictures of fursuiters, they want to interact, they want to do stuff. They shouldn't be there to socialize. And that's not to be cruel. So it's not something where it's like, if you have a handler and they're just like, hey friend, and they're still with you and being attentive, that's cool. If you have a fursuiter that's like, or if you have a handler that's like, look at this fursuiter I have you seen my fursuiter? My fursuiter is awesome. Now we're going to have a conversation. I have no idea what he's doing, and he's probably dead now. That's not good. You don't want people that do that. I've had people that do that. It's not fun. That's how I ended up 20 blocks from a con where I didn't know where I was. I had one person left. That was terrible. So something else, you want to make sure that you have enough handlers for you, and if you're in a group, for the group. So a good ratio is 2 to 1. So for every one fursuiter, you have 2 handlers. But generally, it's a 1-to-1 interaction. If you're with a group, you want to have more handlers because it's harder with groups. At con, it's not so bad. Con, everybody knows about fursuiters. Everybody knows that fursuiters can't see, and they're just like at death's door constantly. That stuff's gonna go down. So you'll always find somebody, especially suitors themselves. Suitors themselves make great handlers. But suitors themselves out of suit, they're just going to be like, oh, you look a little hot. Do you need water? Can I do things for you? Can I help fix your paws and all of that? Yay, actually your paws are really nice. So you're all put together nicely. They also do that where, can I show you your scene? Alright. If you notice, paws, the sleeve generally goes over the paws. And for some, like my hands don't have enough dexterity that I can do that. So my handler helps me to look pretty. And it's nice. So it's just nice having that kind of thing. But as far as safety goes, you want to have somebody that's looking out for you, knows where water is, knows where to take your head off, and can just keep an eye out. Because some people get excited. Can you turn around really quick? Some people get excited and they see something where it's like, oh my god, it's a Ouija bat! Oh my god, I love you! Yeah. Don't do that. They can't see you coming. And it's terrifying. I've had people do that to me before. I was actually joking about it last night with people where we all look like cute stuffed animals when we're in suit. When I'm in suit and somebody grabs me from behind, my reaction is not immediately, I'm in an adorable suit. Clearly, they were just excited and wanted to interact with me. My reaction is, I can't see very well and somebody's grabbed me. I should elbow them as hard as I can. And like, it came up because one of my buddies was making fun of me. Somebody, I didn't see them coming and they grabbed my shoulder and I immediately went like that because I was about to elbow them in order to make sure I wasn't getting grabbed. don't grab them from behind. And that's what a handler is all about, because they'll be able to see, like, if somebody's coming up from behind, I can be like, whoa, 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 come from the front. He'll see you. He'll hug you. It'll be nice. They can speak for you if you don't want to speak in suit. It's lovely. I'll go way more into it for the handler panel if you want to stick around. Something to know though is when you do have a handler, have some pre-made symbols. If you're not going to talk in suit, having some hand gestures and things like that to get messages across. So one of the biggest ones is, I am in danger, or I'm scared, or I need help. They all basically mean the same thing. And something that you want to do, basically the sign for that is holding your hands up like this, palms closed. So going like that, because there's a difference between like, yay, and going straight up like that as much as you can. You can also cross, depending on the suit. It can be harder. Going like this. Essentially, people don't do this unless they're in danger of some sort. Yes?
I think at Disney World, their people in suit actually have to cover their left eye, and then the nearest staff member is actually supposed to take them out of the area.
Yeah. So,
Then again,
I could
talking
see
Disney,
why they do that
they want
for
to keep it
Disney.
more subtle so that the guests don't know what's going on.
You don't want to be that subtle, particularly at a FurCon and stuff, because it's already, things get lost, it's already kind of hard to see. And honestly, when you're in that much trouble, if you, I promise you, a lot of people know this already, if you do this, or this, or this, somebody's going to help you. Because if I see a fursuiter doing this, then I'm immediately just going to be like, what can I do to help you not get hurt? Another one, like the really ready ones are, I need a drink. So if you're doing something where like, that may not be in water, that's a different symbol. But just doing that is, I need a drink. That, I need to take my head off. Hot, I'm hot. I hear something is something that I do with a lot of my handlers, so I don't hear very well in my suit. Sound gets a little weird, so it's hard to place where stuff is. If I hear something that I'm worried about, like I can hear a car and I don't know where it is, I'll do that. And then they'll point it out what the stuff making noise is. Or if I hear people that are nearby and I can't see them, I'll do that. And then they can point out where the people are so I don't get a surprise like, hey, what's going on? How are you? I'm gonna just be all over you. And then I'm like, I'm scared. Yeah, there you go. I mean, those are the pretty common ones. I can't think of a break. Oh, something broke? Oh, you need a break. Usually I just do that. Yeah. So, taking a break. I learned a new one. That's taking a break. I think I'd do that for, like, something broke. It happens. It's sad. Two last things. Avoid animals. It might seem nice, because when we look at fursuits, we want to be like, it's a big stuffed animal, it's so cute. Like, why don't people take this as the most adorable thing ever? Because we're human beings, and we're like, it's okay, I'm not going to die. Animals, they don't feel like that. Animals don't look at you as, you're a big, cute, soft animal. Most animals will look at you and go, I don't know what that is, it's terrifying. For two reasons. One, you're a weird shape that they're not used to, and you're big. No matter how big, like no matter how small of a person you are, you're bigger in person. You just look like you're puffed up, which is an aggression thing. You also constantly stare. Fursuits don't, well, unless you got a really high-end fursuit, they don't blink. Which to animals is, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight though. We're gonna fight. And animals will like, I don't want to fight you. I'm scared, I don't want to fight. And then you're just like, oh my god, you're so cute. But really that's like, we're gonna have the biggest fight ever. I am going to screw up your day. And they're just like, I don't want that. That is not what I want. And so, there is such a thing as fight or flight. And if you're dealing with, usually you're going to run into like dogs on leashes and things, and oftentimes I've found that the owner just doesn't get it, and they're like, oh no, it's okay, Pookie, like it's just another doggy, yeah. And the dog's like, what is wrong with you? We're all going to die. That is a monster creature. We need to run. And they're like, no, we're not running anywhere. And he's like, well, this is it. This is my last stand. You don't want to deal with a dog that thinks it's its last stand. And there are some animals that are totally chill with it. So I've run into I've run into dogs that are like, you're my new best friend, giant dog. Let's go have fun. And it's cute and awesome. I've also had dogs that are absolute sweethearts. I've never seen them do anything aggressive in their life. My own dog was like that. He's a big Chesapeake Bay Retriever. I've never seen him growl or bark at anyone. I tried on my Fursuit, and he went full on, I am going to take you out. He got as big as he could, and they are big dogs that are pure muscle. He got as big as he could, bared his teeth, and gave me a low growl, like, if you come near me, I will hurt you. Until I actually spoke up, and I was like, oh, it's okay. And I took my head off, and he's like, oh, this is the best thing ever then. That was cool. Yeah.
One tip that helps when you've got a staring suit also works when you're dealing with kids that might be freaking out is the cover up and turn away.
So with kids you want to do that? With dogs?
Yeah. Well, at that point,
yeah.
You're closing your eyes, turning your head away, you're doing a submissive gesture. It helps to diffuse the I want to fight gesture.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can do that with animals, and they're not going to, like...
Yeah,
you have to judge the animals. Some of them are like, I don't like what you have going on over there, and I will make sure that I go over there to show you. Some of them just, like, I don't want anything to do with you. For dogs, don't cover your eyes up all the way, because you do need to watch their body language.
Yeah.
The best thing to do is, if you're not sure about the animal, if they're not, like, full on, this is the best thing I've ever seen, you don't want to deal with them. Because it's not cute. They get scared, and even though there's psychological tricks that can help deal with it, it's just not worth it. The second bit is, never pick up a child. This isn't going to kill you, but it will ruin your life, and everybody needs to know this. This sounds like the weirdest advice ever if you haven't fursuited before, because if you've met another human being that has a small child, they tend to be protective of them. I don't know why. They're like loud potatoes, but they really like their children, and good on them. Good. People are really, really protective of their kids. So, like, if you're out of suit and you, like, smile at their child, they're like, what? Somehow, if you're in a suit, they're just like, clearly, this person is fully qualified to completely control my child. I have no idea why that happens in their brain, but it does. It really does. Because somebody gave me the advice when I first started out, never pick up kids. Never hold a kid. If they try to hand you a kid, do not take it. If somebody tries to hand you a kid, go like this, so they can't possibly put it into your arms or anything. Because you can't feel a lot of things. Kids kind of wiggle. And then they fall and go splat, and you don't want that. That's bad. Like, it really will ruin your life if you do something like that. Mall Santas and like the Easter Bunny and stuff like that, they have very specific insurance that they get in case something like that happens. You don't. Do not pick up a kid. Don't do it. For your own well-being, don't do it. That is basically everything I wanted to cover. And I did it in the right amount of time. So now we got like 20 minutes to do question and answer stuff. Any specific things that you want to know about, things like that. Yeah. You should make sure that you eat before getting in suit, because again, it doesn't seem like you're doing a lot, but because you have all that heat in your body, it is a strain on your muscles, it's a strain on your body to regulate its own temperature. It's going to need some fuel for that. So if you like get up in the morning, have nothing to eat, and get into suit, especially if you're new, then you're going to start feeling sick, most likely. Some people can do that, I don't know how. Some veteran suiters kind of do that, but when you're new, you really don't want to. My advice is go for something kind of light, even like a granola bar or something like that. Something where you're not just like, I'm slowly starving to death. Don't do something where it's like, I had a full spaghetti dinner. Now let's get into suits. Or, you know, I drank half a gallon of milk. You're not gonna have a nice day when you do that. So don't have like really, really heavy meals. And then as you start to get used to suiting, you get a better idea of what you're comfortable with, what's okay, what's not. After suiting, you shoot. So there's going to be a downtime when basically all you do is go, I'm going to sit and stop. And you do that, and you just cool down and let yourself relax and calm down. After that, you probably will get hungry. Essentially, after your body has done the recovery part, and it takes, depending on how long you've been in suit, like, expect like an hour and a half or 2 hours or something like that. It takes a bit. You don't want to like push super hard and then just be like, and now super hard. Let yourself take a break, take a nap if you want it, whatever. And then you're gonna, you know, be like, hey, I'm hungry, and then go eat food, and you'll be fine because your body's recovering. Yes.
This is more of an opinion thing. Communication devices, wallets, and things. I've seen some people say, have my handler hold it, but people do get separated. What is your recommendation?
So, thank you for bringing that up because I don't know how this slipped my mind. That is awesome. If you are in suit, always have identification on you, not your handler. So at the very least, have an ID. Because in many places it's illegal not to have an ID. A really good way to do it, you can get a little thing like this, you can put it in your glove. I've put it in my shoe before. If you're really, really cool, there's like pockets that can be sewn into suits. So it's just the back of it, and it's just a little pocket there. So it's there. That's what you really, really want. Other than that, you should make sure that your handler is staying super close. So if you are really, really brand new, you shouldn't be in really really crowded situations where you don't have immediate access to help. So cons are a little different because almost everybody knows what to do if somebody is hurt or sick or something like that in suit. Outside of a convention or something like that, you definitely want to make sure that you're not in some huge crowd or anything like that. And at that point, it's going to be things like there's brilliant stuff, people having harnesses, there's people that just have like little backpacks or slings that have water on them, like that. So the more it's likely that you could get separated, the more you want that stuff on you versus not. But always make sure you do have ID. Another thing I've seen there's certain badges where it's just like a little slip that you slip in paper into, like this. Yeah, or something like this, where this is open, and so what I do with mine, I have one like this that I wear when I'm fursuiting, and my ID just goes in the back and my room key. So if I have trouble, I can go anywhere and go, this is who I am, please help me. Even if I lose my hotel key, I can go to the desk and go, this is me, please let me back into my room. So, hooray. So yeah, definitely make sure you have ID on you. There's so many ways to do it. It's a good idea. Anything else? Alright. Let me tell you my favorite story about how I was young. And why handlers are super. Like I said, a lot of this is from when I was younger, and I made really, really poor choices. Really poor choices. I have a tendency where I really, really like suiting outside the fandom. So I used to be really, really bad at picking my handlers. I was not very good. When you're getting ready to go fursuiting, especially if it's outside the fandom, know where you are going, know how to get back, and know where you can get water. Those are 3 important things, and if you can't answer those questions, don't get in suit and go. I'm sorry, it sucks, but just don't do it. But I was a fool, and I was wrong. So I was at AC. AC's great. everybody loves you at AC in Pittsburgh. And somebody was like, hey, there's this really cool sandwich place nearby. Do you want to go? And I was in Suit, so I was like, sure, is it cool if I go in Suit? Like, it's not far. And they're like, yeah, it's only a couple blocks. It's not. It's like 20 blocks away. So we were walking, and then walking, and then walking, and then walking. And I thought to myself, okay, even if it's a little farther, I have like 5 people. Having 5 handlers is awesome. You feel like the president. Because you're just like in the middle and you have people all around you that can look out. Nothing can touch you. But of the people with me, 4 of them agreed to be handlers in the I want to be around a fursuit. Because it seems like fun. Which is very, very lovely and that's awesome, but that's a friend, that's not a handler. Handlers make great friends, but you want a handler and a friend, not just a friend. So I ended up with 1 person that was being my handler. I was walking down the street. I had no idea where I was or how long I had been in Suit at this point, nor how close the place we were going to was. So that was bad. I hear from across the street someone yell out, "Foxy!" super loud. And I turned to look, and there is somebody sprinting across the street, full arms out, tackle hug, like, engaged. And my only response to that was, oh. So I cringed slightly, like, oh, this is it. This is how it ends. Because there's not a lot you could do at that point. He was coming full speed, and I'm this size, and he was twice my size. So it was like, oh, all right. This has been a good one. I hope I come back as something cool. Thankfully, the person that did stay with me was a very good handler, and he saw the person coming, and all he did, it was the most amazing thing to see. All he did was just go, and the guy stopped, like full skid cartoon stopped, and he ended up skidding to a halt about my length away from the table. So he stopped right in front of me and cringed in front of the guy. And it's not like he stepped up like, what do you want? All he did was have to step up and just straighten out his shoulders a little bit to just be like, no, friend, that's not what you want to do. That's not how this should end up. We can find a better alternative. So the guy stops, and you know, he was really not, he was just super excited. He wasn't a furry or anything. He was just a guy that was like, I love foxes, they're awesome. This is a great, like, you know, this is a great costume. Can I hug you? And it was like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. But if I hadn't had the hint, like, he didn't know that I am not a giant stuffed animal padded person that can take a full tackle. So it's just really important to have people around you for that kind of thing. Even at cons, I've worked with some, like, I've done stuff with people where they just went a little too hard and got a little sick. And, I mean, when you have somebody with you that can just be like, all right, we're going to do some stuff, got them some water, we're going to take a break, and their soup is saved. Because if you're somewhere and you pass out in Suit, the EMT is going to cut you out. So there's some talk, people were talking about, there were a while ago, like these little business card type things with a little like person drawn on it, where they could draw in where their zippers were. And the idea was, if the EMT looks at it, they'll unzip you. I have talked to EMTs before at cons. I like to get their opinion on things. They just laugh at that. Because that's not going to happen. They want to get you out of the suit as fast as possible, and finding your zippers and zipping you out is not the way to do it. They will cut you out. My favorite EMT had bright pink scissors, and he goes, these are the scissors of shame. Your fursuit, if you pass out, your fursuit is not coming back from that. The worst horror story is this poor person that had the most gorgeous suit, beautiful tribal markings just sewn into it. It was a work of art. It just, like, there's some suits where, like, every fursuiter, everybody's just like, damn. It was that kind of suit. and the poor person went too hard, passed out, and that suit was dead. First con they wore it to. It's a tragedy. It is, you pour one out for that poor person every time. So, you don't want to pass out. If you do feel tired, take your head off. If you feel sick, take your head off immediately. If you're not feeling 100%, it is time to take a break or time to stop. Because passing out in suit is the worst punishment.
I think it was locked. I think my children.
Any other questions?
You guys got like 5 minutes for the next one starts?
Yeah.
If that.
Yes.
Bananas are usually good, like for like I don't know, just like staying hydrated and stuff. Or I know like bananas, like my friend's a runner and he said like you should have like a couple of bananas or something. Like,
I don't know that.
I think that like
Oh yeah, so you get potassium back, so you don't get grams. Yeah. Eat a banana. There's a good answer. Eat a banana before you sleep. That's a good plan. So says our friend. He's 100% 2 legs up. Yeah. There's all sorts of really wonderful ways to keep hydrated, like eat oranges, do all of this stuff. But really, your minimum level, water. Always water. So if you ever have a question, just drink water. Eat a banana and then drink water. You can't go wrong with water. Unless it's super, super ice cold, and then let it warm up a little. But yeah, thanks for that bit of information. Hi, new friends. Anything else for Suit Safety 101? Okay. Well, I think that about wraps it. Like, I guess we're gonna get together for how to be a handler. Yay! I love how to be a handler. Are you okay?